Monika, and thanks for watching my channel, Cat Creations. Today I'm going to be showing you how I sewed this tank top I'm wearing. I used some leftover crochet trim from an old dress that I had, so you'll be doing a little upcycling in this project, as well as just using whatever knit fabric you have. So let's get started sewing. We'll start the project by removing crochet trim from another tank top or dress. The trim from this old dress my sister didn't wear anymore was perfect for this project, and it's just joined by stitches here at the shoulders and the back. Grab your seam ripper and carefully detach the trim from the fabric. You can use trim from one of your old tank tops or dresses, or even get one with crochet trim for super cheap from a thrift store. After you finish separating the trim from the fabric, remove the tag and clean off all the threads, so now you have a great piece of trim, and go ahead and set that aside for later. Get any stretchy knit fabric for your tank top. Always check for remnants, because just like in my last video for the vest, I found a remnant of a yard of this super stretchy fabric at Joann Fabrics for pretty cheap and even have some left over. Fold your fabric over, making sure the stretch of the fabric is perpendicular to the fold, and then take a tank top or dress that's been folded in half and lay it on the fabric so the folds line up. We're cutting the back piece first, and we need the top of it to be cut straight across rather than having any straps sticking up, so just fold the straps from your template dress down so that it has a straight top edge, just like the dress I have laying here. Cut around the dress or top you're using as a pattern, making sure to leave at least a ½ inch extra for seam allowance, and then cut it to your desired length. Once you unfold it, you'll have a back piece that's slightly tapered on both sides with a flat top and flat bottom edge, as you can see here. And sorry, the way the camera was positioned makes it look a little skewed here. To cut out the front piece, fold your main fabric in half, fold your template top in half, and with the straps visible this time, lay your template with the folds matching up, again making sure the stretch is perpendicular to the fold. I actually positioned my top a bit further from the fold than I did with the back piece because I wanted the front to be slightly looser like many tank tops are in the stores. Then cut your piece out, again leaving extra for seam allowance. After you cut the front piece to the same length as the back and unfold it, you'll have a front piece that looks like this. Now before we actually sew anything together, we're going to do some hemming, starting with the tops of the straps. Fold the fabric over towards the wrong side about 1/4 inch once, then fold it over again and pin it into place. Do this on both straps and sew across each using a ballpoint needle, backstitching at the beginning and end. I simply used a zigzag stitch because it's great for stretch fabric, and don't worry if it's not perfect, mine definitely isn't. The crochet trim will eventually cover it up anyway. Once you hem both the tops of the straps, move on to hemming the neckline. We're going to do this in the same way by folding over the correct side of the fabric towards the wrong side once, and then again. Pin it down and continue pinning along the entire neckline to keep everything in place. You may choose to use less pins, but I find they help me so much when sewing along curves by keeping the hem even and neat. It's a lot of pins, but hey, you gotta do what you gotta do, right? Now sew the hem with a stretch or zigzag stitch. If you've seen any of my other videos with stretch fabric, you'll know I often choose decorative stretch stitches for hems that are going to be visible because I think they look really nice and they always do a good job of keeping the rolled hem laying neat and flat. Now it's time to lay the back piece on top of the front piece with right sides together. Go ahead and line up the edges of one side and pin them together. You may notice that the back is not as wide as the front, and as I said while I was cutting the pieces out, I wanted the front to be a little looser so it wouldn't cling to my stomach, just like a lot of tank tops in the stores are lately. Sew them together using a stretch stitch or a zigzag stitch, and then line up the edges on the other side and sew them as well so the front and back pieces are attached. Since I used a stretch stitch, the seams stretch instead of popping, which is what would happen if you used a regular straight stitch, and nobody wants that. The next step is to make a continuous hem around the top, starting at the side of the strap, all the way around the back, and then up to the other side of the strap. As usual, fold the fabric over toward the wrong side once, then again, and then pin. When you get to the seams, just flatten the seam allowance and continue folding and pinning the same way. Once you've finished pinning, sew the whole way around with the same stitch you used for the neckline. Now the whole top of your tank top will be hemmed nice and neatly. To finish the bottom edge of the tank top, we'll be adding a fabric band to it. To do this, cut out 2 strips of fabric that measure 4½ inches long, and the width of them will be whatever the width of your back piece and front pieces of your tank top are. If you made the width of the front and back pieces equal, then these strips will be equal, but since I made the front piece wider than the back, my strips are equal to those sizes. Also, be sure that you cut the strips to stretch along the width so that the tank top is easy to get on and off. Match up both edges of these bands with right sides facing and pin and sew them together with a stretch or zigzag stitch. Turn the fabric right side out and go to one of the seams you just sewed. Flatten out the seam allowance and fold the fabric in half, matching and then pinning the seams together with the wrong side of the fabric facing inward. Do the same on the other seam and then stretch the band out so that now it'll be folded in half all the way around and you'll no longer be able to see the wrong side of the fabric. Place a few pins along the edges of the band simply to keep it in place. With the tank top facing outward, slide the band around it so the bottom raw edge of the tank top lines up with the raw edges of the band. Make sure to match up the side seams of each, then pin into place, and pin and sew around the entire bottom edge with a stretch or zigzag stitch to attach the pieces together. Then just fold the band down and you have a nice bottom edge that's a little more detailed than a regular hem. All we have left to do is attach the crochet trim to the straps and back. Lay and pin the trim on the shoulder straps and carefully sew it down. Obviously this clip is super sped up, but I just wanted to show you that I carefully sewed over the thick parts of the crochet using a plain straight stitch, and it was actually pretty easy. I just backstitched in several places and made sure it was tacked down good. You can barely even see the stitches. Now lay and pin the back part of the crochet trim over the back of the tank top and sew it down. I stitched over the thick part and then also over this part of the netting too to completely secure it. You're all done. I know there were a lot of steps, but just take your time, watch the video a few times, and sew your heart out. Then be proud of all your hard work and rock that tank top. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on any more tutorials in the future. Bye guys! You how I sewed this really easy and real. Can you please stop fishing for just a second?
Okay.
How I made this tank top. Seriously, ducks now?
Ducks are talking to you.
They're talking to me. Okay. That would be funny. So, I don't know what I was gonna say. Okay. That I'm gonna show you how to make a tank top.
Okay.
Oh yeah, and then